We're in Lizure National Park near Jurien Bay, a couple of hours north of Perth. It's one of a few areas being pushed by West Australian scientists for inclusion in the Unesco World Heritage List. It's part of an area known as the Kwongan, which stretches from Shark Bay to Esperance. It's a really large area in southwest Western Australia. It's about the same size as England.
On these very nutrient-poor soils, the crappiest in the environment, if you like, that is where Banksias and Hakeas and Grevilleas and Smokebush, all these plants belonging to the family of the Proteaceae, that's where they thrive. And we are gradually getting to grips with how these plants are really managing to run on the smell of an oily rag, really. The dieback is one of the threats to biodiversity, but another one is really feral animals, feral cats and feral foxes. And then what is really terrible, there are also feral pigs in this park. We all know how biodiverse rainforests are. Well, this is actually a knee-high rainforest, as Kingsley Dixon would say. They are both on very nutrient-poor soils. Well, our idea is to basically include all the bits of pristine bush that are in parks, reserves, or other bits of crown land, for example, that have not been touched and that have the same biodiversity that we see over here. So we're not going to talk about the farmland, we're not going to talk about restoring that, but basically all the bits that are still left in the original state. I mean, areas like this are no good for agriculture at all. They've been left alone because they are full of poisonous plants. Even if you cleared all of them out, I mean, look at the soils that we walked over, for example. They are, I mean, there's no way. It's also very stony. There's no way you could actually develop this for agriculture.
When you're talking about this World Heritage Area being a number of sort of disconnected parks and reserves, is the reason for that because there is that high level of endemism? You need to include a lot of different areas to pick up all those weird little species?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because what's happening here in Lizure National Park will also happen in a little reserve near York or a little reserve near Geraldton, for example. But you will also find unique species that you won't find here at all.
The Kwongan stretches from young sand dunes like this on the coast of Jurien Bay to areas on the interior of WA which can be tens of millions of years old. But the biodiversity isn't limited to plant life. There's also 145 species of reptile, 30 species of frog and 14 species of marsupial, many of which are endemic. Any application for World Heritage status would involve a number of stakeholders, such as local government areas. There's also the local Noongar traditional owners, in this case represented by the South West Land and Sea Council. They're interested in the idea, but again, they'd like to see a firm boundary and also know what sort of rights and obligations will be put on them as the native title holders.
The polite way of referring to these soils is as a light sand plain, very light sand plain. There are many other terms for them. So they are challenging, but most soils with care can be managed to grow a lot of different crops. Next door, there's a very, very large vegetable property growing a range of different vegetables extremely successfully. There will be some people who will be concerned it'll put constraints on them, but until we see the type of proposal, I really don't know what it will necessarily mean. Most of us don't know what it will mean, if it will mean anything negative. To me at the moment I see it as all being a positive thing.
I think it's very important to conserve that because you can actually use it to promote tourism in the state. If this park got the imprimatur of UNESCO that it is World Heritage listed, then you can actually advertise that and tell people about how special this place actually is.